look specifically at her face, like her eyes. Like, you can see the terror. Like, what is she looking at, man? Like, if those eyes could talk,
oh my God,
if they could tell you what he was doing to her at that point, she died terrified.
being so mean?
I don't know.
Grumpy Pants John.
All right, let's get on with this. Tonight we're going to Chicago World Fair. Not.
Oh my God.
That's fucked up.
Holy
shit.
Oh my God. Sable is going to wring your neck, dude. Actually.
All right, tonight we're going to get into this. I showed you where we're going last time. I'm going to recap it a little bit. We're talking about Sergei Ryakhovsky. He is known as the Balashika Ripper, the Hippopotamus Killer. Huge dude. 6'6". And what's interesting about this case is the source that I'm pulling a lot of this information from, even though it's translated from Russian to English via Google Translate, the author of the report, I think he was a criminal justice student or something, but he goes pretty in depth about the psychology, which I found fascinating. Like, he goes and remember the Hippopotamus Killer, Sergei, had brain damage. And I told you a lot of the MO. So the brain damage could have caused that, at least a bad temper type of outburst, type of violent streak. Not only that, some of the MO, he lacked forward thinking. So if he's committing a crime,
he's not thinking about the consequences.
He doesn't think about the consequences, and which is interesting. A lot of the killers do that, but we never really sit down and say, okay, this guy lacks forward thinking. Anyway, I stopped last time where Sergei was just realizing how much fun he was having. Now, you got to keep in mind, he wasn't getting caught, but that wasn't because he's some criminal mastermind, even though a lot of the serial killers start to think that. Oh, they're not catching me. I must be too smart for them. This guy is pretty much an idiot, from what everyone would say. The only reason they're not catching him is because, you know how police departments don't really work together. Plus the Soviet Union thing, the whole thing was collapsing at that point in time. So it was chaotic anyway. But the important thing to know is this guy is starting to have fun. He wants to have fun with his murders. So we actually stopped on the murder of Olga Shuiku, which we don't have a photo. We do know she's a 55-year-old female. He met her at the bus stop. Well, I shouldn't say meet. He walked up behind her and clubbed her and then drug her into the forest like most of the victims. And then you find yourself out there with the hippopotamus, 6'6". You can't really get away. So at this point, Sergei is wanting to have fun. March 9th, 1993, he shows up at the Rasdori village, and it is a remote, isolated village. And he clubs this woman on the head, drags her into the forest, and he brings with him a firecracker. Now, she's still alive during this point, screaming bloody murder, which he doesn't care because, number one, he feels invincible. Number two, no one can hear you scream out in the forest.
True. Like
that. So this was the same type of thing. Despite her screaming and trying to get away, he manages to completely strip her down and then light that firecracker and put it inside of her, like inside of her vagina, like while she's still alive. It reminds me a lot of this case we did. Oh, Jacob, if you want a fucked up case, there's this one called Junko Furuta. That case is so effed, dude. Like, that one was terbs. This one part where it's a Japanese case. Just to let you know how bad it is, there's one part where they take this poor girl and they put a light bulb inside of her cooch and then turn it on until it explodes. That is fucking terrible. Can you fucking imagine? Anyway.
Thanks for allowing us all to relive that.
The firecracker is now lit and inside of her. When they found... This is nuts. Okay. Because Russia, and I have all the photos here, Russia posts their damn photos. The gruesome ones, too.
Kind of surprises me.
Russia posts their crime scene photos. So when they don't, that's when you know it's bad. That's when you know it's bad. Like, they post their shit. the gruesome shit. But when they don't, the only victim they haven't posted is the one where the firecracker blew up inside of her. You know that shit is terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That is freaking terrible.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know what happened to her body except that there was an abandoned barn near, and Sergei either did this inside the barn or dragged this poor lady to the abandoned barn afterwards. Now, this is actually going to be his downfall. Now, he makes a lot of mistakes, but at this point inside this abandoned barn, he puts a noose up. And the idea of this noose is basically telling detectives, he's not trying to tell detectives, but he is basically saying that he is going to have fun in this barn with his next murders. But this is his downfall because detectives, they actually set up an ambush because what they noticed about, and this was all, the reason he got caught is because of the noose. If you think about it, because at this point, there have been 15 brutal murders. Not one of them had been connected or linked to the other ones. And these are in small villages being brutally ripped apart by a massive killer, and not one of them was linked. The only reason police decided to put up a sting and ambush this old barn is because they suspected whoever did this was going to come back. So they arrested the guy. They arrest Sergei, not knowing who the hell he even is, not knowing if he has anything to do with the body or any of the other bodies. And then he just, like many serial killers, confesses. The guy who wrote this article put in, that was one of I told you he was big into the psychology. Yep. He linked this killer to Arthur Shawcross in America, because when Shawcross was caught, if you remember, he was an open book too, confessing to murders that they didn't have any idea about. You know, I did this, that, and the other. In fact, the memory cord killer from South Africa that we did in the Alaska story, same thing. Oh, yeah, I also killed this girl. Oh, we didn't even know she was gone or dead. So he did the same thing, and that's the psychology behind that too.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's beyond me. I mean, I wouldn't think you'd want to confess to any of that shit. But anyway, they found this noose, and that's how they eventually catch him. But not before he went on this massive rampage of having a lot of fun with the bodies, which he did. The next one we're talking about is April 12th, 1993, a 62-year-old Anna Narsian. She actually came prepared, not to get raped and murdered, but she had tear gas on her. This is who we're talking about right now, and you see what she was murdered with is right here. And it's hard to tell what it is. This at the bottom is a ruler.
Oh, okay.
That's just so the police can show you how big it is. But what you're looking at is an awl, AWL. It's like what your granny has to knit with. She like
a knitting needle.
A knitting needle, yeah, an old one, I guess. So that's what she was murdered with, which is, I mean, look at the thing. Holy shit, right?
Well, it looked really small, but I guess it's in perspective.
Yeah. April 12th, 1993, 62-year-old Anna Narsian. She actually has tear gas with her. I don't know if to protect against bears or what, but she has tear gas. She sprays it right in this maniac's face. Now, this is at another bus stop in another village. He is just literally going from bus stop to bus stop and doing this. And he thinks that if he can, and I showed you the metro, how it goes all the way around Moscow. So there's plenty of stops.
Yep.
I'd venture to say, just remembering the map, probably 10 different villages around the edges there. So he is just stopping in one at the other and the other, sometimes murdering people in the same village, literally 100 yards away from the previous one a month later, and no one's catching him. Anyway, a bus stop, same thing, clubs her, brings her into the forest. She pulls out some tear gas right in this guy's face. It barely even stuns the guy. Tear gas. He barely even skips a step.
How?
I don't know. I guess maybe brain damage or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen guys. Well, I've seen like this Discovery Channel show where there was a guy who got tasered, and he was like this super endurance dude. Like if anyone was going to not be affected by a taser, it'd be him. So they shot him with a taser, and he did fall down for like a second, but he got right back up and started running like at the camera. I was like, fuck. So I don't know, but maybe just a bloodlust, because at this point he was just on a rampage, the hippopotamus rampage. I mean, we're talking about 19 murders in a span of 12 months here. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So he is just running through all this, especially with the tear gas right in his eyes. She pulls out that sewing needle and starts trying to defend herself as he's running straight for her. 6'6", running straight for her. So we don't really know how many times he stabbed her with it, but you saw the needle. I mean, it's a long needle, but it would take a lot of pressure to puncture someone's skin with it, because it's not like,
it's
not razor sharp. Yeah, exactly. September 7th, 1992, he goes to Moscow's active gay community called the Izmailovsky Park. We're going to kind of shift over to more of the MO now, but it is very important to know that he was homosexual, but he did not want to admit it, just like Gacy. So at this point, he's not really religious growing up.
But Russia is very anti-gay.
That is true.
Very.
Very. Now you say that makes sense. If you guys watch the headlines that we do, you may have seen this one video we did. Remember the two lesbians? Mm-hmm. I don't even think they were lesbians. They were like friends. There's like, hey, let's kiss, you know?
Oh, yeah. And the government made them apologize. Otherwise, they got thrown in jail.
They had to apologize to Putin.
Yeah.
for making a video of, and it was like a peck. I'm like, shit.
I think it's like I don't know if it's a crime or how, if they, I can't remember their laws on it or whatever, but it is hard to be openly gay.
It was hot.
Russia.
I mean, not good. September 7th, 1992, he's in the active gay community, which now that I'm thinking about it, that doesn't even make sense.
I'm sure it's an underground active gay community. You know what I mean? He
meets a 60-year-old Nikolai Welkin, and this man invites Ryakhovsky into the forest for sexual acts. This has happened before. Like, he gets invited because he is gay. Like, they know he's gay, right? So they invite him in to either pay for sex or have sex performed on each other for free. And then he'll come back the next day and meet them and then do it. But he is gay himself, but he will never admit that. Even today, he will never admit it.
Yeah. Russia sounds a lot like Oklahoma. I bet.
Let's just look at this guy's body and you can tell me what you think happened to him. This is a 60-year-old man here. You can tell me when you notice. Look at that cut on his neck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, right? Look at that thing. Is just... So he is just brutal, man. Brutal. Like all Russians, just so brutal. Now, this one's really important because, and he actually...
Like all Russian killers. How about that?
Yeah. Like...
all Russians are brutal.
I mean, shit, I kind of are, man. Anyway, this one's really important because the police knew that this guy, whoever did this, which was the hippopotamus killer, not only killed this guy, but this was the first time that they could determine this corpse has been violated post-death. After death, he violates the corpse. He rapes the corpse after death. And he still says he's not gay. Like, whoa, right?
Well, he's also, what are the levels of narcolepsy again?
Yeah, there's like 10. And now that I think about it, the whole gay thing in Russia is like a big taboo. It makes sense that the author of this, what I'm reading, kind of went down this road. But it's now obvious that not only is he gay, not only he's gay, but he's also a necrophiliac. And that also kind of makes sense with some of the other murders. Remember that one that we talked about that old man with an axe? I don't think you saw that one because you were peeing out of your vagina, I remember. But this guy, old guy with an axe, this is a bad photo, so trigger warning. This guy right here, old man, was out chopping dead wood. He had an axe, and this hippopotamus just comes right up on him, steals the axe, kills the guy, does whatever he just did to his face. Looks like he cut it off.
Yeah.
And then comes back the next day for some reason and chops off his leg. So it makes sense to me that he's coming back for sexual purposes also. This guy's crazy, man. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Something's not right there. Many of things are not right there.
Not even 90 days later, in the same forest clearing, less than 100 meters away, where the cops had just removed this old man's body, he's going to do the same thing with another man right there. And in both crime scenes, Sergei leaves his sperm all over the place. I mean, oh, God damn it. I just thought of it like hippopotamus just jerking.
Ew, stop it.
Spraying
Stop.
the trees. Holy shit.
Gross.
I mean, all right, maybe not all over the place, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
it was left at the crime scene.
For someone who is a crime genius, I mean, remember he left his fingerprint on the ski. He even leaves one of his gloves on the body by accident of someone else's body. He's leaving
all over the place.
It's all over the place. But at the same time, like, no one's capturing him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is the guy that was found right next to where the other guy was killed. Right there. You can't even really see what's going on there.
Ryakhovsky regularly returned to the scenes of crimes. This, by the way, is also a behavioral trait characteristic of asocial disorganized killers. The need to again visit the site of the successful attack arose in Ryakhovsky's literally the next day after the murder, but usually he restrained himself, realizing that such a trip could turn out to be self-exposing. Therefore, he returned to the places of his former exploits, usually after a month and a half.
One of the reasons why they probably couldn't link the guy is because, he is attacking men. And specifically, the two I just showed you, he went out to cleanse Russia of homosexuals. That's what he claimed. But he also attacks women as well.
Yep.
And his lust was so great that he had to force himself not to revisit the crime scenes like he did that one guy with the axe.
Right.
Like, he knows he was about to be caught and he can't do that. A lot. So this guy reminds me also a lot of Arthur Shawcross because he did the same thing. I mean, this guy is like the Arthur Shawcross of Russia. He really is. I think Shawcross, I'm pretty sure his nickname was like the Walrus or something, the Walrus Killer. I know one of his monikers was that, which is crazy because this is the hippopotamus.
Yeah.
They're both tall and big, imposing dudes, huge. They both revisit the crime scenes. In fact, that's how they caught Shawcross, because he would go back and he would submerge these women. And this was in Rochester. He would submerge the women in the lake where it was freezing, and it would basically preserve the body so he can come back even a month after he killed them and continue to rape the dead corpse. He would pull it right out of the lake and do that. So this guy may have not have thought it that far through, but I feel like if you were going to make a one-in-one comparison, these guys are like the same, very similar, which is kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But his lust was so great that he decided not to return to the crime scene, but instead to find more victims, because he knows if he returns to the crime scene to fulfill his sexual desires, police may be there.
Right.
So the next one, in the same village, he disguises himself as a mushroom picker. So I'm picturing this guy with like a hat and like a little basket filled with mushrooms. Maybe
picturing the Bob's Burgers episode.
Yeah, maybe some overalls. He kills a woman at this point, and and it doesn't say how he kills her, but they do have the photo, and this is horrendous, man. So this is the woman. Her name is Norakina right here. This is her. Look at her body after what he did to her in the forest. This is incredibly brutal. Scrolling over again with the face, it looks like she's strangled to death.
Oh my God.
With her scarf. And the face,
is the skin taken off?
I want to say the photo is really kind of old. It might just be
discolored,
frozen, and it dies. But look specifically at her face, like her eyes. Like, you can see the terror. Like, what is she looking at, man? Like, if those eyes could talk,
oh my God,
if they could tell you what he was doing to her at that point, she died terrified. Holy shit, fucking terrified. This one is one he admitted to, and this may tell you a lot about this guy. As he was caught in the cabin, he admits to the killing of this lady. They show him the photo to see if he did this, and he's staring at it for a long time. Now he's getting ready for his trial. And the prosecutor or whoever in Russia is showing him this photo, and he's just like staring at it. He looks up at the prosecutor and says, quote, "Can I take this as a souvenir?" Right? Like, fuck,
what?
Really? He wanted to take the picture. Oh my God. I mean, holy shit.
Case closed.
Fuck, no shit, man.
Good question, Natasha. When did they find her?
Oh, like how long after she was dead?
Out there, yeah.
Honestly, from what I saw, this one was like one that he admitted to, and then they went to find her. So it probably was like a month, because this is kind of wrapping up where he gets caught. He gets caught really quick. In fact, one of his last ones, he gets caught right. So he kills another victim, and then he goes to the cabin like an hour later and gets caught, like right when he killed someone else.
So how many victims did he have again?
19, but there may be more. Wow. But he is the type of guy that would admit to any of them, you know? So there's probably not more, I guess. Going back to the firework murder right quick, back into the abandoned barn, police set up that ambush, not knowing who they'll catch. As I said, out of every one of the murders so far, not a single one was linked together. And that sounds a lot like over here too, like our departments don't work together at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He confessed to murders that no one even knew about, over a dozen. For example, May 5th, 1993, he confessed to the murder of a 13-year-old boy named Rana Kabubulin. He was 13. I'll show you this kid. This boy right here, and this supposedly is the youngest. This boy was in boarding school, so it makes sense that he was at a bus stop. This boy was also mentally retarded, and he had asked this nice man, this tall man, the hippopotamus, sitting at the bus stop, if this man would be so kind to help him with his math homework so he can get a good grade in his class. And apparently Sergei said, of course, let's go out into the forest. And then this is how the boy ends up right here. Now, noticing about this photo, this is graphic right here, he has no head at this photo. So he is completely headless on that one. The interesting thing about that one is the head was found 40 meters away from the corpse for no reason at all. He's not trying to hide the identity. He is just, I don't know what's wrong with it. He's just like incredibly, it's the same reason, remember he killed the kid with the ski, and then he takes the skis and throws them separated in the woods, but leaves the body just right there in the open. The same thing with this. He takes the head off and then throws it like a basketball. He actually throws it 40 meters away from the corpse. 40-meter throw. He chunks it just like over the trees. Isn't that fucking crazy? After the body was decapitated, he then goes back and performs his sexual acts on it. Can you read? Can you read this? What, you thought this shit was going to be a walk in the park?
It should be added that Ryakhovsky had already cut off the head of his victims. This is what he did with 45-year-old Shumakova, who was killed and raped in July 1990 Islamovsky Park in Moscow. He did not pursue a rational goal. The killer was attracted by the process of playing with the corpse.
So we're wrapping this up, but he actually tried to confuse investigators at one point. This is kind of weird, but for one body, he actually takes lipstick. I'm guessing it's the woman's lipstick. And he writes on the body here, on lipstick. Now, this is the day he was caught, actually. So, obviously, his confusion of detectives, didn't really work. It didn't work out for him very well. But as you see what it says there, you can barely see what it says. The message, the exact message was, "Greetings from Chechnya." He's trying to confuse investigators. But so we wouldn't know about this at all. Like, okay, yeah, how would that confuse investigators? But if you want to read this will make more sense.
However, even here, Ryakhovsky acted poorly and illogically. If he wanted to bring Chechen criminals under suspicion, about whom there was a lot of talk in Moscow at that time, when a woman of Slavic nationality, he should have been a chosen as a victim, and not a dark-skinned Armenian woman with pronounced Oriental appearance. It seems that if Narcissyan's body had been found before the killer himself pointed it out, his cunning would not have deceived anyone in the law enforcement agencies.
So he was quickly caught, and he's actually, as of this, he's still alive. He is in, obviously, he is in a Russian work prison. As of 2009, at least, he was in a forced labor camp in Mordovia, which is an extremely harsh place to be. He is there.
Has anyone heard from him since? He may not be alive today.
No, 2019. I mean,
I thought you said 2009.
No, I showed you a photo of him. He looked in pretty good health, I guess. So he's probably still alive. He's probably breaking big rocks into little rocks right now, actually. In prison, we went through that fantasy story he wrote, Starfall. He is obsessed with science fiction. He doesn't read any of the news in prison, any newspapers. He only reads like Ray Bradbury and stuff. So he's very interesting. He's got a good, reading list. Anyway, he wrote this Starfall, but he never finished it because he's got no education and he doesn't know how to finish the damn story. But it sounds good. This is the plot of it. It is the fantasies on theme of mass repression, burning people with flamethrowers and throwing them into space. So he is the commander in this novel, Starfall, and as the supreme commander, he has robots under him that are subordinate, and they get in their spaceship and they attack other planets and spaceships to cleanse them. And that's when they burn people with flamethrowers and throw them into outer space. No one knows why he's doing that. It's just fucking weird. But that's what he does in prison. He fucking reads science fiction and writes half stories. He's like me. He does half the story.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
Oh man.
But that's all I got on that. I hope it was okay.
That was great. That was great.
We had again asked Jen if she wanted to be here, just in case y'all know. She's at basketball.
Yeah, she's sorry. I should have mentioned that when we first started recording. She is at basketball for another half an hour.
But awesome story request, Martin. I still don't know how you find these, man. Literally. Please tell me other podcasters do this. Please tell me that they release part 1 and then wait a year and release the part 2. That's got to be a thing. Not everyone releases them one after the other, right? I don't listen to any of them. People are probably like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Remember the Ed Gein one? I released part 1, it was episode 50, and then part 2 is episode 93. It's like, what? What the fuck? What is wrong with this fucking dude? Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, hilarious.
All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Natasha says, "Ghoul, finish Ghoul."
Oh,
that was excellent, actually.
Yeah. I get too much in my head, and I just don't think things are good, and I don't know.
You gotta follow your own advice of putting it out anyway, even if you're not sure. You know what I mean?
No, I know. I've been trying to do that. Anyway, so we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here, guys. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Part 3. Kind of run this shit.